All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. We have a special public hearing tonight, April 25th at 7 p.m. I'd like to have a call to order for our budget hearing of Watchung Borough of Education on April 25th at 7 p.m. May you please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Johnson, may I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Agliaro? Here. Mrs. Amadeo? Here. Mr. Frage?
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Here.
Mrs. Harvey? Here. Mr. Ingracia?
Here.
Mrs. Jewett?
Here.
Mrs. Santos?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're going to have a presentation of the 2024-2025 budget. Dr. Glazer, Ms. Karen Bishop-Johnson, and Mr. Turner from Summit Management. If you can please all present the budget to us.
Be our pleasure. No, you're fine. I just want to know if that's on. Okay. As long as that's on, we're good. It's always on when All right.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all for coming tonight to hear the presentation on the recommended final budget for the 24-25 school year. We are going to go through each aspect. Ernie, you're going to kick us off, right? Yes. Ernie's going to kick us off talking about the budget.
Okay, very good. Good evening. Last August, I raised the alarm. Since then, I've stood before the board and the community in October, January, and February. In October, this Board of Education voted to reapprove the amended budget. This had to be done because it was short a significant amount of money. As I said then, this was a result of many years of very strict monetary control. This was not taking advantage of available tax revenues to address the rising cost of running the district. Most recently, federal and state grants provided as a result of the pandemic, private donations, and bond interest was used to fill the gaps. These monies are no longer available. Additionally, as we had shortfalls, all available revenues were used, such as extraordinary aid, and we had to create a 5-year lease purchase for technology that was not originally included in the budget. What you will hear tonight sounds like a big increase all at once. It didn't have to be that way. Over time, there was the opportunity to spread the increase over several years, but it wasn't done. Now we have come to a point where the fiscal needs of the school district have accumulated to the point where there is no other option available than to have this type of increase. Watchung is not alone in facing this situation. Many districts are facing the same situation. Karen has been here 2 months, Julie has been here over 6 months, and with them comes a new perspective on the reality of the fiscal situation of the district. This is just a start to building a financial foundation that will be sustainable. We have been in crisis mode. Now we want to stabilize the budget so that we can turn our attention towards enhancing the educational environment for all our students. Oh, that's good.
You good?
Yeah, next.
No, it'll be me. I was going to say, I'll go next. So I will say, and you've seen this slide also in March, some of you may have seen or heard some of this during our March meeting or at the Borough Council meeting, but for the benefit of those who are hearing the presentation for the first time or hearing the budget recommendations for the first time, just bear with us, please. We're trying to make sure everybody has the same information. Aaron, you can move on. We always start with the vision of the district. It represents the collective hopes and dreams that I think we all have, what the whole learning community believes is possible for our students and for education here in Watchung Borough. Aaron, keep going. We also have talked about the budget flow process, how we go through to make sure that what we're recommending is aligned with the needs of the district, the expectations of the community, as well as what the community can balance financially. We've talked a little bit about when Karen came, we've had meetings with the teachers, principals, the board, lots of the board, and I'll talk more about that. We were able to unanimously approve our tentative budget back in March. The executive county superintendent did approve that budget, which allowed us to go forward with creating the amount for the tax levy and getting information on our ratables. We'll also talk about that again this evening. And then that brings us to tonight with our board adoption. This slide is, yes, how we've gotten here tonight, but to Ernie's point, since March, we have continued to meet with the board to review the recommended budget, ours, thank you all. We have continued to respond to questions. We've presented at the Borough Council and to the community. Our presentations and all that supporting documentation is posted on the district website. It's also posted on the Borough website and in the local press. In addition, we've advertised the user-friendly budget in the press. Aaron, looking for Aaron? Can you reach out to Beatrice, please, and see if we have a candle or some matches being lit somewhere, please? Our budget timeline. So it's been, I'm going to keep going until he tells me otherwise, but it's been an unusual year for budget development. Typically, the budget calendar is developed in June at the Board of Education retreat, and the budget process begins in July, with the expense side built for February, awaiting development of the revenue side in March. As you know, this year, when Interim Superintendent Dr. Rovtar and Patty Rogers opened the budget, they discovered significant shortfalls. As Ernie just mentioned, requiring the 23-24 budget to be readopted and the approval of additional appropriations and revenues. Patty got a really good start identifying issues that affected the development of this 24-25 budget. And then with her resignation in November and Karen starting in January, our timeline was shrunk to a very small place. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge Karen. I know she hates it, for the amount of work that she's put in to learn the district, to really do a deep dive and understand everything that we are presenting and recommending tonight. I think I called Aaron away, so I don't know if we can go to the next slide.
Happened.
There we go. And here we are at April 25th tonight, presenting the final recommendation for budget approval. And then that user-friendly budget, as I said, posted on the district website. It is already advertised. Ernie, I think it's you again.
As most of you know, when Dr. Glazer joined the district in September, she was alerted by interim superintendent Dr. Rovtar and then business administrator Patty Rogers that the district was facing a budget crisis. Patty and I completed an in-depth review, and a number of issues were uncovered that had been years in the making. At the October Board of Education meeting, I shared this information in detail. The presentation and video is available for review on the district website. But the Board of Education was required to reopen and reapprove the current budget and reallocate appropriations in all available revenues. This was a one-time solution to get us through the year. When Karen started in January, she took on the arduous task of reviewing each line of the budget, every expenditure, and all revenues, so that we could begin to create a framework for financial and operational stability that would be sustainable. The budget, as recommended, reflects the first steps in creating a sound financial foundation.
Yeah, just pull it up.
So I want to just talk to you quickly about the how we collect the data for the expenditures. Mainly, we're looking at salary projections and employee benefits, tuition for out-of-district placements, and transportation. Those are our very biggest cost drivers. So that's where we start when we're looking to prepare this budget. We look at the enrollment as it is today and what we think it'll be next year. We look at our debt service because we have that referendum, as you know. We work with leadership, we build the requests, and then we put together a priority list of what we think we had to do first, second, third, and fourth. Okay. Slide.
This arrow.
You can hang on to it. So, Aaron, next slide, please. Next. Thanks. So the board's role in the budget process. We wanted to make sure we repeated this slide so everybody was clear how much time, effort, work, review, involvement that this volunteer group of people has put in to getting us to this point. The hours that you have put into understanding this, to asking questions, to getting clarification have been tremendous. And I know that I'm grateful, I'll speak for Karen, that when we didn't know an answer, you challenged us, right? So that we all have been able to understand this final budget in a very deep and meaningful way. The thought and purpose that you put into this has been tremendous. And again, this final budget represents all of our best efforts to prioritizing restoring staff and programming, and to be able to improve and enhance curriculum instruction and assessment. Erin, slide. There you go.
So the objectives of this budget are always to support the teaching and learning in accordance with the district vision. Another objective is to maintain the current class size. Also, to restore fundamental positions and programs that were cut from previous budgets, and this year, as you all have heard, funded through the grants, that interest, and the private donations that have now run out. We always seek to budget efficiently, and we constantly seek to reduce expenditures. We do that in our business office by getting multiple quotes, by making sure all the invoices that we do get are appropriate, that the work is done, that the items are delivered, that the items are in the proper condition. We do this on a daily basis, every day.
Aaron? There you go.
Okay. Oops.
You went to go. Just have to arrow.
Okay.
There you go.
I did this one.
You both? And it's Ernie.
Oh, no, wait. I'm
Yeah, no,
sorry.
you had decisions.
Okay. The key decisions that we had to make in order to do this were we said we were going to maintain those current class sizes. We were also going to maintain the current staffing levels. We wanted to maintain the current level of programming, and we wanted to maintain the transportation, the clubs, and the sports that we do have now. We want to expand professional learning and collaboration initiatives while prioritizing curriculum, instruction, and assessment to improve our academic outcomes. We want strategic stabilization of operations on the office side for staffing, support services, and purchase services. Okay, next, Taryn. Okay, got it.
Just a little discussion about the budget tax levy cap that school districts are forced to refer to when they're doing budget development from one year to the next. That budget cap is at 2%, and has been at 2% for a number of years. But that 2% cap on a tax levy is not tied into any economic indicator. It's an arbitrary number that was established years ago in order to try and maintain lower tax increases in communities. But in this time and in this economic environment that we're in right now, that 2% increase on the tax levy doesn't take into account inflations or increases in the cost of doing business. So as a result, the state of New Jersey allows for waivers on that 2% tax levy cap. You can go beyond that 2% tax levy should it be needed within your school district. And in my experience and my knowledge of other school districts and the challenges that they're facing, a number of them have had to take advantage of these waivers to go beyond the 2% tax levy cap. And that's done through a number of different factors. And one of them is that the state of New Jersey currently in this budget allowed school districts to take advantage of what's known as an enrollment cap increase on enrollment and enrollment adjustment. And that figure was calculated by the state of New Jersey based on calculations based on the figures of the ASSA report, which is the student count and enrollment count that's done in October. So Watchung was had available an increase in the tax levy based on that enrollment adjustment. And that amount was $436,150. Along with the 2% increase, there was also a health care adjustment, because health care premiums tend to go up in sometimes double-digit numbers and increases from one year to the next. There's a calculation that's done in the budget program that allows for an adjustment to be able to absorb this large increase in health care premiums. So Watchung was available for a health care adjustment in the amount of $75,845. So this is what the increase in the tax levy for the 24-25 year is comprised of, and how it was calculated, and why it actually exceeds what's known as the 2% tax levy cap.
You are.
Okay. Last year, the Board of Education chose not to take the enrollment adjustment or health care adjustment. The increase last year was set at 2%. The money that was available and the tax adjustments that were available last year then become what's known as bank cap. And that bank cap is kept on account basically for 3 years. And after 3 years, it expires. But during that 3 years, the board has the option and the availability of the money that's been calculated and accumulated as a result of these waivers to the 2% tax cap. And it's kept on account for 3 years and can be used to help balance your budget going forward. And again, in this year, Watchung had to take advantage of being able to utilize some of this bank cap, some of these waivers, in order to be able to bring the budget financially into balance. Okay. All right, and it's important to keep in mind a couple of other things in presentations that I had made previously concerning why the financial stress has been put on the budget. And there were a number of things that occurred that caused this to happen. And one is just the cost of doing business because of inflationary pressures, because of contractual obligations, because of mandatory expenses that the district must absorb into their budget. But it was also due to the fact that for the past 3 prior years, there was a number of grants that were available, federal grants that were available, that were provided by federal government, and in some cases the state government, to address the COVID pandemic. Those grants are no longer available. All right, this was not something that was sustainable for longer than the term of the grant itself. So these items all contributed to the fact that the stress was put on the budget for this year and contributed to the financial stress that we have experienced.
Aaron, one more? There you go.
So this slide represents the calculation on the general fund revenue projections. All right, so you can see the local tax levy. It's an increase of 12%, which would generate a revenue of $14,374,143. There's other local revenues of $477,000. There's budgeted fund balance from fiscal year 23 of $801,242. And then there's state aid. There's transportation aid, special education aid, security aid, and the projected extraordinary aid. All right, for a total of $17,254,299. At this point, I just want to emphasize, because I have mentioned this in the past in discussions about how our budget is put together. But if you go back to the budgeted fund balance of $801,242, that amount is basically the prior year's surplus that was classified in the audit report as excess surplus. That excess surplus must be budgeted as budgeted fund balance in subsequent budget years. So that $801,000 as surplus that's now incorporated into the budget, that is like a revenue for the district. It's important for the district to maintain or keep as close as possible to that number. In other words, generating a surplus each year, approximately in that amount, so as not to realize, in effect, what would be a reduce in the revenue. If that $801,000 suddenly became $500,000 in the subsequent year, that's equivalent to a loss of a revenue of $300,000. All right, and then you would have to make that up in some other way. So this is a fine balance that has to be maintained in managing the budget, is how the budgeted fund balance and how surplus is generated in the school district. If it's not done, if that number was reduced significantly in some other way within your budget, you would have to make up the difference between $801,000 and whatever that number comes in at the end of the year. So very, very important to keep that in mind, all right, because that is, in effect, a loss of a revenue if you can't maintain that number at that level.
Next slide, Aaron. So this is a pie chart, basically just showing you where the major expenditures are in 24-25. Obviously, the largest one is regular instructional programs at $5,807,000, and that's followed by the special education program at $4,002,000, and employee benefits at $3,004,000. Our operations of our buildings, $1,003,000. Administrative costs, $1,001,000. Transportation, regular transportation at $1,001,000 about, rounded, and then student services at a small amount. Student services is clubs, athletics, and plant operations also includes the salaries and the contracts and everything. So these are our major drivers for 24, 25. And you can see where the biggest cost increase or the biggest costs are. This is just basically also showing you our most our most significant increase is salaries and health benefits. This contractual salary increase for all of our teaching staff is 2.8% this year. We also have to increase the FICA taxes, the ESY, our overtime costs, our substitute costs, and any other adjustment is in there. Followed by the benefits. The benefits go with the person. So every full-time employee is offered medical and prescription, dental, workers' compensation, retirement, and Social Security. So those total to $1.1 million together. Our student transportation, I've budgeted up 5.8% this year. That's the CPI. That is what our transportation contracts allow them to charge us, up to CPI, not over. So that is the most amount we'll pay there. Other fixed operating costs are almost $100,000 up, and that is the property insurance, because our property increased in value, so our insurance went up here. Our outside purchase services, every time that we have somebody come in from the outside to work here for us in whatever capacity, and all of our utilities, gas, electric, water, just like a house. Okay. Aaron, can you zoom in and make this bigger? Is that possible to basically focus? That's perfect. And maybe we could go left to right a little bit. I wanted to show you this screen because this is a per pupil analysis by municipality, and this comes from the state of New Jersey, and it's available on the website that's referenced if you take a look at the bottom of the screen. I wanted to show you where Watchung was in relation to other districts in Somerset County. And are you able to go to the top a little bit so they can see the heading? So when you go over to the right a bit, you'll see that in 23, in 21, 22, and 22, 23, go a little bit more, Aaron, to the right. Okay. That is our 22, 23, and the column heading says budgeted per pupil amount. All of the districts you see on the left-hand side, that is their budgeted 22, 23 amount. For us, I was able to put in our actual because we have that in our budget software. But everybody else's is budgeted. That's why I did make it in red to note the difference. But we spent $18,924 on each student here at school. Can you go a little to the right just so I can see what's out there? Okay. This is basically showing you where the rankings are. And if you go back to the left, you can see where Watchung is in Somerset County. The school sizes, a little bit more to the left. One more. There you go. Nope, a little more. Sorry, thank you. So it does show you there, K to 12 districts versus K to 8. And you can sort out that data if you had wanted to and just look at K to 8s. But Watchung is there in per pupil expenditures. So we are obviously toward the lower end there in Somerset County, and then there's some nearby counties if you wanted to compare. Okay, that's it for me. We're on the scores. Okay.
Next slide, Erin. Thank you. So, we are proposing to use bank cap in addition to the other funds that are available to us. We do have to use those other funds, that enrollment adjustment, healthcare adjustment, before we can access our bank cap. As Ernie shared with you, that bank cap is collected almost like a savings account. If we don't use it, it disappears. It doesn't get returned to the taxpayers. It just evaporates. and we only have 3 years to use it. So I want to talk a little bit about that up front when I talk about our plan in this budget, so you understand that we're not looking just to get through this year, to plan for next year. We're looking at the following year as well. So in this budget, what we are hoping to restore, and the reason that they're restores, is because these items were removed from the general budget. They either were not funded, they, as Ernie said, had been funded through grants or federal dollars, bond interest, or private funds, right? None of those things, COVID funding, bond interest, all of that has been expended, and at this time, no private funds have been committed. So it's up to us to bring things back into the budget, right? And when you see these restores, you'll see, I'll start at the bottom, believe it or not, ESY is a mandated special education program. It's our extended school year program. It was not budgeted for last year. That was part of reopening the budget in October to make sure that we could run that program. We are a one-to-one Chromebook initiative district, grades 2 through 8. It's at the transition years that students get their Chromebook for 4 years, 2nd grade and 5th grade. Ernie already shared with you on the October financial analysis. Again, that was not budgeted for last year. That was what required us to go out for a lease. We want to restore this into the budget. We don't want to be paying lease. And then jumping back up to the top, Bayberry's PE position was lowered to 0.7 in the budget. It was, the remainder was paid through timesheets. If we could not restore that position to the budget, looking at class sizes, looking at contractual teacher preps, you might have had double gym periods. You might have up to 40 kids in the gym at once, which I don't think anybody wants or anybody thinks is a good idea. Same with our Bayberry school counselor, limited to 0.5 in the general budget, the remainder, not even a full, up to a full percent, being paid by timesheets. I will say I spend a lot of time in the schools. You all know that. I don't know what we would do if we didn't restore that position to full-time. I really don't. Bayberry, classroom teacher, that was for class size reduction. That position was paid with bond interest. That money is not available any longer. Without restoring this position back to the budget, again, you're back to where you were with class size before you made that decision. Bayberry has not had a librarian for 4 years in that beautiful library. By restoring the Bayberry librarian position, it also gives us some other opportunities. We have full-time librarian here at Valley View, where as part of our referendum projects, we are updating our library, Learning Commons space. We have teachers who not only do gifted and talented through our SOAR program, but STEAM teachers, science, technology, education, arts, right, and mathematics. We have shared people throughout the district. With restoring this Bayberry librarian position, you now create a team of people, a team who can collaborate, who can look at curriculum vertically and horizontally, K-8, and prepare students for what comes next. In the general meeting, and I hope some of you will stay and hear this. If you're not able to, watch it later. I'm going to highlight some of the things we celebrate. I do that every month. And we have students who are representing the United States in robotics competition, our 5th grade Valley View students. But we also have our team of students going to Orlando in June for national competition. We have our students who participate in the FinTech program with Berkeley Heights. So this is a tremendous opportunity to be able to restore and a missed opportunity previously. I think school resource officer, this was the first year for that position. It wasn't budgeted. Officer Pete's position was paid for through bond interest. a tremendous addition. I have not had that position in other districts. It has been a wonderful partnership with the police department. And as you heard last month when Officer Pete got promoted, and we're proud of him still, if you're listening, Officer Pete, we were able to have a new officer who's been in the community for a number of years, trained to take over as school resource officer, Officer Mike. Like I said, you met him last month. And if you're here in the regular meeting, you'll see some pictures from the Bayberry all-school meeting where he was introduced to the students. Wouldn't want to lose that, right? We want to keep that restored to the budget. Professional learning, big topic at Bayberry and Valley View. Most of the professional learning over the last few years are IDE consultants who are doing instruction and coaching and personalized instruction, problem-based learning have been paid for through grants. Conquer Math, which has proven to be a wonderful program, helping grade level teachers look at specific skills, improve their depth of knowledge, right? Wonderful. We've had to limit that to new teachers, to turnkeying those opportunities. We have staff asking to pay their way if we can find a sub. That's not okay. We want to be able to provide these opportunities for our staff as well as other individual opportunities. We have multilingual learners. We have, special education opportunities that we want to be able to provide our staff to continue to grow their own practice, because that's obviously the best way to impact our students. Curriculum writing is another area. Wouldn't say it's been cut because the states had mandates for curriculum. So we've been able to put teams together to write curriculum to meet those state mandates, but we haven't been able to update our own district curriculum, math, English language arts, Spanish, right? So in this budget, we have restored funds to allow those teams to do curriculum writing at Bayberry and at Valley View. Additionally, came to our attention with all of these updates, the report cards were not updated. So we did put in an opportunity at Bayberry for those report cards to be revised to grade level standards to provide opportunities for parents to have a better, more clear picture of their students' trajectory as they move up through even pre-K, but K to 4. All of these things, and sure you thought it was going to be billions of dollars, but all of these restorations are $455,000, about $455,978 because it's on the slide. Erin, next. These are the only additions we're recommending to this budget. Again, I'm sure people assume that it's much greater. Similar to our school counseling, the social worker position is not full-time currently. Position is shared between both schools. This addition allows us to have a full-time social worker, and even a shared social worker with more time is better than part-time shared. Transportation coordinator consistent software. We're going to have a lot more conversations about transportation coming up as soon as we can get through this. We'll be doing a transportation town hall to talk about all of the input we've gotten this year, to look at what we've done this year and what really needs to happen going forward. One of the biggest things that's been identified is the disconnect, right, between the high school, who is doing the contract for transportation for the district, and us, right? We don't have the same software. We don't have one person coordinating the routes, the student enrollments or disenrollments, the parent inquiries, even the messaging. So this edition allows us to have that single transportation coordination between the two districts, as well as consistent software. So we don't have some of the major glitches that we started the school year with and hope to never have again. And those additions, as you can see, are less than $100,000. So just for sake so everybody understands, each percent of increase, right, to that tax levy that equals that 12%, each percent is equal to about $127,000, $130,000. So even if you did not choose to restore, even if you did not choose to add to the proposed recommended budget, still would barely take away 2%. You'd still be over 10%. Erin, could you just go to the next slide, please? The last thing we have up here is what we wanted to maintain. There were lots of recommendations early on of places where we could save money, right? Transportation was an obvious one. Sports, do we need competitive sports? Could we do intramurals? How much money would it save if we didn't do buses? How about clubs? We have a lot of clubs. Again, when you look at what it costs to maintain our current level of sports, our current level of clubs at Valley View and Bayberry, and I will say Bayberries are subsidized by the PTO, it's $112,000. Again, not even 1% if you chose to take away all of those maintained opportunities. I will say, and again, you've heard us talk about this a lot, speaking in all the schools, talking to all of you, many parents, we will be engaging in a strategic plan process. We will be bringing the whole learning community together, having that opportunity to identify areas, right, of maybe concern, interest, things that the community would like to look at as a whole. Academics, transportation, sports, whatever that is. And through that strategic planning process, you find the will of the community. These are not decisions that individuals are going to make for the community. Erin, next slide. Thank you. So our total bank cap request, right? The total of restorations, additions, and programs maintained, $659,187. Additionally, there was about $150,000, $151,687 that was not able to be funded in the general budget with the 2% increase in the waivers. Together, that makes our total bank cap request for 2025 of $810,874. Now, you will notice we didn't request to use all the bank cap. That has been a big question as we've moved from March until now. Why? Why not just put it all in, fix everything? The truth is, can't change and transform years in a couple months, number one. But number two, when you request to use that bank cap, it needs to be used by June 30th of that year. We didn't think it was realistic, even knowing that we're going to be looking at textbooks, at resources in English language arts and mathematics first, that we would be able to identify those resources, pilot those opportunities, train staff, all in the same year. So we made the decision to recommend not using all of it in 1 year, having some next year, to be able to continue the initiatives that I think we all believe are important for enhancing those academics, for enhancing curriculum instruction and assessment in much deeper ways. Erin, I think you're up, Karen.
Yeah. Okay, so we're back to the really fun screens of dollars. So I'm just to make sure that everybody knows, in school budgeting, the revenues have to equal the expenses. They can't be off any dollar. So whatever you think you can bring in is what you are saying you're going to spend. You can do it one of two ways. You can say, this is what I can get, and therefore we will spend only this much, or you can do kind of like what Julie's explaining. Dr. Glazer is saying, here's what we really want. We want to bring back these programs, we want to maintain these programs, and we have a small addition. So to that end, we need $14,374,000 $400,000 of tax levy to do that. We know we'll get about $252,000 for pre-K tuition. We know we have a referendum here. That money is shown as a revenue, although cannot be used for this general fund, but that's $1.2 million. We get state revenue. We use every bit of that every year. That is $1,690,000. There's your general fund balance. That's where we get to count that as a revenue. We have interest on our bank accounts. Interest has been good lately, so we continually move into the highest interest rate accounts we can get. We have federal aid. We have some miscellaneous income from renting and technology fees. And that totals our resources at $18,720,502. That's all of our revenue. That's all we predict that we can get. These are the, oh, Aaron, thank you. These are the expenses. So there is a lot of detail in these lines, and I didn't want to bore everybody because they'd be sleeping if I tried to tell you what was in every one. But the user-friendly budget has all this detail. It has been posted in the newspaper and will be available on our website if the budget passes tomorrow. In these lines, you can see what, where the costs are. This is a budget. This is what we believe is what we're going to need for next year. The total operating expenses is $18,720,502. It has to match the revenue dollar for dollar. This is another slide from New Jersey Department of Education, or even I have the website down there if you wanted to take a look at where you can get that. Aaron, can you zoom in just a bit? I just, again, want you to see where Watchung is. When you look at Watchung Borough in Somerset County, it shows the average taxes paid on the average property. This is for 2023. So the average taxes, the average house value last year was $802,091, and the taxes are $16,365. And you can see, and if you go onto these websites, you'll see pages and pages of data. But when you look going across to the right, you see that, a little more to the right, you'll see that our school and the joint, the high school, the joint budget, our total school levy for 2023 was $20,878,000. That's a rate of 1.037. If you look back a little bit toward the left and you look at the average property values and you look at other towns in Somerset County and outside of the county, you can see that once again, our rate is lower than others. Although 1.037 doesn't look that much different than, let's say, 1.143, it is a substantial difference to us. And it's partly why we are struggling. So Aaron, could you go back a little bit to the left? So these screens are available to you. And of course, the website is also accessible. But you can see where we are in Somerset County and then against other counties. And I think I'm ready for the next screen. And one more to the right. Can you go to the right one screen? There you go. Okay. So in the end, and the reason why, to wrap up this budget, and this is pretty much our last screen, this screen is going to show you the tax impact. I did it two different ways, 23-24 compared to 24-25 without the referendum debt service, and then the bottom is with the debt service. Without the debt service, you can see in 24-25 that the tax levy of 14,374,143 is what you saw on the other slides. It is what we need to balance our budget. To make our revenues equal our expenses, that's that number. If you look at 23 to 24 versus 24 to 25, you can see that the tax rate per $100 is really not up that much. It was 0.00636, and now it's going to 0.00666. That is at a rate per $100, which is a little bit, kind of hard when you're looking at a house. So looking a little more to the right, you see that last year that average house was $802,000, and this year the average house is $856,000. The values went up on that property. Therefore, the taxes will go up on that property also. The estimated school tax, and again, I'm still looking at the without debt service so that you can see that $14 million number. But the estimated school tax in 23-24 was $5,097.56. And this year, predicted for the school year, would be $5,703.32. So that is going up $605.76. But I am showing you on the bottom two lines the with debt service, because you really are paying for the referendum also. And I don't want this to be misleading. And I have it there because I want you to see the 14,374,000 number that we've asked for. But really, we also have the referendum that is currently in your taxes. So when you look at those numbers going across the same way I just explained, the tax goes up $637.85. That is the increase over the 12 months starting on July 1 of 2024 through the June 30th, 2025. So we do our tax increase on a school year. The township pays its tax on a calendar year. I'll show you that in the next screen. But this is the school year impact is truly how we are raising your taxes, the $637.85. I did put a calculation on the bottom there that says if you own an average Watchung home of $856,136, which is the 2024 valued house, that tax of $5,957 which causes the increase of $638 over the school year, is $53 a month, which is really less than $2 a day. If you look at the blue sentence there, if you want to, you can take the value of your home, and if you multiply it by that number, 0.00075, that will give you your individual increase. Not your total tax, your increase. So a $400,000 home will see a $298 increase, and a $1 million home will see a $745 increase. That doesn't mean total. That being said, and trying to explain that this is the school year tax impact, the next slide shows the calendar year tax impact. This is what you would see in 2024. So that from January 1st of 2024 to December 31st of 2024, it is $467.28 increase, because we're running on a different year. So by the time you get to December of this year, you will have paid $467 more in taxes than you did last year, calendar-wise. It's a bit disingenuous for me to talk to you about calendar year tax impact, because our tax increase is hitting a different time period, but out of your pocket, what you will feel is $467 this year. And then we come around to next year, and from January to June, you get the other piece of the increase, and then we start again with the new budget for July 1st. You can see that the ratables in the town are up substantially. The homes increased substantially. and therefore the taxes will increase on that also. But our increase, our ask, is causing your taxes for this calendar year to go up by $467. That is the case. And the next slide is basically the end. We do thank you for your continued support and of the education of our children. Dr. Glazer it's her main goal in life to have the best budget she can have and the best education she can have. So we thank you very much for your time.
Sorry. And thank you. And Ernie, I'm sure you're saying thank you too. Annie, you got to go to the next thing in the book.
Yep. Thank you so much for all the work you guys have put into this, Karen Bishop Johnson and Dr. Glazer and Mr. Turner. I know there's been quite a bit of work involved here for sure, and we appreciate it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to comments from the public on 2024-2025 budget items. We welcome input from the public. There are 2 times during the meeting when the public is invited to speak. The first opportunity to comment on agenda items is now. The second opportunity for the public comments is towards the end of the meeting. Total allotted time for the comments is 30 minutes. Before you make your comments, please state your name and municipality of residence. In the event it appears that the public comment portion of the meeting may exceed 30 minutes, the presiding officer may limit each statement made by the participant to 3 minutes duration. Our public forums are not structured as question and answer sessions, but rather are offered as opportunities to share input with the board. In instances where the board feels response is needed, the presiding officer or superintendent will address the comments. New Jersey statutes do not permit the board to discuss personnel of hiring in public sessions. Names of students should not be used. Members of the public should consider their comments in light of legal rights of those affected and identified in their comments, and be aware that they are personally legally responsible with potential liability for comments they make to the board. The board shall not be held liable for comments made by members of the public. So if anyone has any comments at this time? Please sign in before you make your comments. Thank you.
Hi. Good evening, Dora Santos, Valley View Middle School teacher here for 23 years. I'm here on behalf of our union president, Stacy Mbimbo. She's not able to be here regretfully, so she asked that I speak on her behalf. So the letter that I'm reading is in her words, okay? All right. I've been teaching in the district for over 20 years, and I also currently serve as the president of the Watchung Teachers Association. I'm writing to express my strong support for the proposed education budget for the upcoming year. As a dedicated teacher with many years of experience in the classroom, as well as a number of years serving as union president, I've worked alongside numerous administrators and watched many budget presentations. What I will say is that in a very short time, Dr. Glazer has made it a point to get to know what the issues are within our schools and has been working with the teachers and staff to prioritize rebuilding the foundation of our education system. This is why I firmly agree with Dr. Glazer's main goals reflected in the proposed budget, which are maintaining appropriate sized class sizes, extracurricular opportunities, as well as restoring critical eliminated positions within our schools. Position restoration is necessary to further student development, particularly in certain areas such as physical education, library, and social-emotional development. Unfortunately, over the years, these key positions have been completely cut out or severely impacted. In order to continue to meet the necessary number of weekly minutes as required for PE by the state, as well as maintain appropriate safety for our students so that the classes aren't combined, Bayberry must retain the current amount of full-time PE teachers. Further, Bayberry has been without a librarian for a number of years, leaving little opportunity for students to utilize Bayberry's beautiful library as intended. Gaining back this important position would foster continued equity of access and information literacy to our district's youngest students, Finally, I cannot stress enough the importance of a full-time guidance counselor and social worker at Bayberry. Our students are dealing with varying social, emotional issues that are becoming too demanding of solely the classroom teacher. In addition, many young students require necessary behavioral support as well as strategies to help regulate their emotions. These counseling interventions are pivotal, not only to the student's emotional and social health, but for the continuity and structure of the general classroom and other students. Beyond the crucial need for position restoration, the staff continues to benefit from professional learning opportunities in order to keep our students competitive, challenged, and prepare for further learning opportunities. Continuing to take advantage of these learning opportunities is important to the staff's growth and development as educators. Furthermore, there's always the continued need to review certain practices and propose beneficial suggestions in the interest of the students. For example, Bayberry's report cards are in need of numerous revisions in order to better reflect the best feedback for our families and to address appropriate communication of student progress. Investing in education is crucial for the success of our students and the future of our community. Stabilizing our district's foundation, its staff, and its building blocks is of the highest priority and will yield the best results for student growth and achievement. With the proposed budget, we will be able to provide our students with the resources and staff they need to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. I believe that a well-funded education system is essential for attracting and retaining talented educators, administration, and employees. By providing competitive salaries and opportunities for growth, we can ensure that our schools are staffed with dedicated professionals who are committed to the success of each and every student. I urge you to approve the proposed budget. Our students deserve the best possible learning environment, and adequate funding is the obvious foundation for their success. Thank you all for your time and dedication to education, and sincerely, Ms. Stacy Mbimbo, fourth grade teacher and WBA president. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Thanks for your time. Cindy Deegan, I teach fourth grade at Bayberry Elementary. The last thing I ever want to do again is to teach 28 students in a classroom our size is. When you want to talk shenanigans, you see plenty of it when you have 28 students in front of you, number one. The restoration page is my focus. Counselor, we need a full-time counselor. I know that Mrs. Mbimbo just said all these things, but holy moly, it is worth repeating. We need a full-time counselor. We have children in such need of counseling services, and there are only so many of us to go around, and we need a full-time counselor in order to help them. Things happened over the last few years, and we are not able to cater to every one of their needs. We need the support of a school counselor. Double gym classes? No, not a good idea. When we have friends that perhaps have behavioral challenges and you have 40 students in one gym at one time, not our best use of the physical education teachers. We need 2 full-time. Who am I missing? That is what I feel the most strongly about. I appreciate your time. I will sign in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Rich Desiano. Live at 44 Gennard in town. Been a resident for about 11 years. said this before, so I'm a little bit of a broken record, but I'm a child of 2 educators. I work in education technology. I have a kindergartner with the best teacher in the world back there, Mrs. Miller, who didn't teach me grammar, obviously. I just wanted to say thank you to the board and the administration for putting together a budget and a plan that gets us back to financial stability. And I wanted to say that from pretty much the message that myself, my wife wanted to convey is we didn't come to Watchung to pay low taxes. We came to Watchung for the community and for the exceptional educational opportunities that I would love to see my daughter get. And so thank you for doing the job that you guys are doing to put this together, but also more importantly, to enable our teachers to, well, our teachers and all the staff to do what they can do for our children. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello. Hopefully it's okay for me. I don't live in Watchung, but I work here. Denise Fickner, principal of Bayberry. I know Mrs. Mbimbo and Ms. Deegan and Mr. Desiano said it all wonderfully. I just want to say one basic statement. I support everything in this budget. We worked on it for a long time, prioritize everything. Just on behalf of Mrs. Kidd, Mrs. DeToda, and myself, please support this budget so that we can support our teachers by providing them with the tools, resources, staffing, professional development that they need to do their job as effectively as they want to. It's so important. We hope that you will support this budget. I also want to just put in a plug for my counselor as well. I say my counselor because she is like my right-hand man. I can't do my job if she's not there. The teachers can't do their job either. But it's not only just counseling. That alone is a full-time job. She also is a 504 coordinator and an anti-bullying specialist. You put those 3 things on one plate, and it's more than a full-time job. It's so important. Again, I support all the other staffing additions too. I need my librarian, I need my PE teacher, but the social emotional piece is just so important right now. So please support the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing that there are no more comments from the public, we're going to move on to the adoption of 2024-2025 budget. Mo, can you please move adoptions of the budget?
Make a motion to move the adoption of the 2024-2025 budget. Resolved that the Watchung Borough Board of Education adopt the 2024-2025 budget as approved by the Executive County Superintendent of Schools in accordance with the statutory deadline to make all necessary adjustments to the budget to comply with state regulations. 1, adjust for enrollment, $463,150. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education includes in the tentative budget the adjustment for enrollment in the amount of $436,150. The district intends to utilize this adjustment towards total expenditures. 2, adjustment for healthcare costs, $75,845. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Watchung Board of Education includes in the tentative budget the adjustment for increased cost of health benefits in the amount of $75,845. The additional funds will be used to pay for the additional increases in health benefit premiums. Number 3, adjustment for banked cap, $810,874. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Watchung Board of Education includes in the tentative budget the adjustment for banked cap in the amount of $810,874 in accordance with the NJAC 6A:23A-10.3b. The district has fully exhausted all eligible statutory spending authority. The adjustment will be used to restore staff, programming, technology, and to enhance curriculum and instruction. The Watchung Board of Education will complete the use of these funds by June 30th, 2025, and acknowledges that it cannot be deferred or incrementally completed over a longer period of time. Number 4, authorization travel and related expense reimbursement for the 2024-2025 school year. Whereas the Watchung Board of Education recognizes school staff and board members will incur travel expenses related to and within the scope of their current responsibilities, and for travel that promotes the delivery of instruction or furthers the efficient operation of the school district. And whereas NJAC 8A:23B-1.1 requires board members to receive approval of these expenses by a majority of the full voting membership of the board and staff members, to receive prior approval of these expenses by the superintendent of schools and a majority of the full voting membership of the board. And whereas a board of education may establish for regular district business travel only, an annual school year threshold of $150 per staff member, where prior board approval shall not be required unless this annual threshold for staff members is exceeded in a given school year, which is July 1st through June 20th and June 30th, sorry. And whereas travel and related expenses not in compliance with NJAC 8A:23B-1.1, but deemed by the Board of Education to be necessary and unavoidable as noted on the board, or as noted on the approved Board of Education out-of-district travel and reimbursement forms. Now therefore be it resolved, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education authorizes all travel not in compliance with NJAC 8A:23B-1.1 as being necessary and unavoidable as noted on the approved Board of Education out-of-district travel and reimbursement forms. And therefore be it further resolved, the Board of Education approved travel and related expense reimbursements in accordance with NJAC 8A:23B-1.2b to a maximum expenditure of $25,000 for all staff and board members.
Second.
Second. Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I wanted to discuss a little something. I just wanted to thank the administration for their efforts in detail and clarity on this budget. I've been on this board, this is my 6th year, and in the past, we would definitely have additional committee meetings for the operations committee, and we would answer emails from fellow board members. But I have to say that you guys went way and beyond what I have experienced on this board. So I just wanted to thank you for that, and I appreciate it because you guys offered additional sessions for every board member and made yourselves available for all of us to, ask our questions, offer comments, just try to understand everything. So I appreciate that, especially with what has happened last year. And I also just wanted to make clear to my fellow board members that none of us are conflicted in this vote. And we've been provided way more information than probably a board would ever get on this budget. So I wouldn't expect any of my fellow board members to feel that it would be appropriate to abstain from this vote today, because I think that has happened frequently in the past when there could be a vote such as this, and I just wouldn't expect, there's really no reason. So I just wanted to put that out there. If anybody wants to discuss that with me, that's fine. But I just wanted to put that out there before we voted on this topic.
I'd like to just say, to hear Dory's words, it's a bit surprising because there was 3 years with her as the board president that we weren't allowed to speak to the superintendent or BA directly with our questions because of how she had orchestrated that board governance. But I do want to thank the administration that we're working with now for the time that they've taken and the care that they've taken to present this information. That is why I wanted to support their efforts for the vote during the tentative budget presentation. Since that time, there have been additional questions. I really began asking my questions back when we had the auditor make a presentation to us. And at that time, the first presentation, it was confirmed that we didn't have a deficit, that the changes that we made to the line items were considered housekeeping. That's commonly done. And so I thought that brought the auditor's opinion helped to frame what position we were in as a district at that time. It was only a few months ago, and we had, at that time, still a $1.4 million that was not expended or encumbered. And I just want to say that the public always has access to these same financial reports that we do. There's the Secretary's report, page 4. Each month, we get an update. And we've been able to see what our, even looking at the loss of revenue from federal funds, the dollars that we have listed as restore, the bond interest that was used at the recommendation of the previous administration, and with Ernie Turner also guiding our administration, our operations committee last year when we only raised the 2%. That was also working with Ernie Turner and the administration at that time. And so I think that when my hopes for building the budget would be based on what our expenditures are looking at, or what the expenditures that we can see, because you know, we hear often that, you know, the budget is a guess, and you're making your best guess for what the coming year will hold, and that's to be expected. But a lot of what we're talking about here is not looking at the expenditures, it's looking at last year's budget and the increases that we want to make for the coming year. So I think that that's just one of the differences in how we're looking at this. And I support the objectives that are in the budget, and I think that we can accomplish those objectives for a smaller increase than the 12%. We've spent, as of the end of March, not quite $11 million. There is another $4 million that's encumbered, expected to be spent. So we're looking between 15 million, 15.2 million. We're asking for 17.2 million in this new budget, and we're only adding $90,000 worth of new additions to the budget. So I think that we could meet our objectives for a smaller increase. I have concerns about, with all the discussion we've had, how little we have had about the affordability to the community, and I think that this is too large an increase for this year, especially because we do have all of our options, whether we use bank cap this year or next year. There's no penalty, so I think that we could have a smaller increase this year and then still have that available next year. And for that reason, I'll be voting no on this budget. Thank you.
I have something else to say. I just wanted to say that I do believe in the recommendations of the business administrator, the superintendent, principals, and teachers. I feel like they have put an extreme amount of time into carefully crafting this budget that gives our district a more financial stabilized approach to our budget, and I support our schools and staff and all the children who attend our schools, which is why I'm voting yes on this budget tonight. And I fully understand that this budget allows us to keep everything we have, set some things right, and to create a more financially stable district moving forward. And from what I understand, no board member has asked to cut anything from this budget or provide any ways as to how things could be done cheaper. And I guess, how could they? So whoever would sit here and say that kids don't need busing or technology or after school activities, or that staff doesn't need professional development or curriculum development, I mean, I wouldn't know why you would be sitting here to begin with. So this budget doesn't build anything in our district. It just provides us with the beginning of that stability. And I don't understand how any board member can sit here tonight and not support a financially sound budget by voting no.
I'd like to just address the number, Anthony, that you mentioned, the 15.2 million. I think that's the number you said that we're spending this year.
Right now, we've spent just under 11 million so far this year. But we have currently about 15.2 million shown on our secretary's report. Yeah.
Right, but does that include the teacher's salary that's being paid for out of bond interest? Does that include the amount of money that's being funded right now through COVID grants?
Yes.
It does?
Yes.
So what do we have left? Like all these other costs in here, right? That's being included in the numbers that you're restoring, right?
It's and I understand the question. And that's why I wanted to confirm from earlier, months ago up until our most recent committee meeting, and Karen did confirm that page 4 of that report is capturing all of our expenditures. So whether it's funded this year by bond interest, or whether it's a federal program that's not going to be there next year, that doesn't change that these are our expenditures for this year and the encumbrances that we expect to have from now till June 30th. Mm-hmm. And that's coming in, it was 500,000 less even 2 months ago, but the encumbrances and expenditures have been added to since then. So that's coming in at about 15.2 million. We're asking for 17.2 million, and we're only adding $90,000 worth of new programming. And so I just want to, in case it's misconstrued after Dory's second round of comments, that I am not suggesting that any of those things not be supported, and that because we're doing it now, and we're only adding 90,000 of new. So the restore has been restored to the budget, and I understand that, but we're covering all those things, and it's all on this in this secretary's report from what I've been able to confirm.
But there have been no suggestions for what to cut and where to reduce this budget.
Right. I like I said, I don't, and I don't think board members really are, according to our training, are the ones to be going into individual line items and saying this and that there's something with that. But we can look at the reports and see where there's certain lines that have more available balance, as that hasn't been expended or encumbered. But I think that it's captured in here what we're spending, and so I think that we should be looking at that, especially with an increase of this size, which is unheard of for our district, and I think I really haven't seen this throughout the state an increase of this size. So it makes me consider that maybe we have 2 years to use this bank cap. Other districts might go out for a referendum to, not for capital projects, but to support their operating budget. And that's always been a possibility also. But I did ask in one of the meetings after Ernie Turner's presentation, because it did seem like some new information regarding, well, these adjustments and things that Ernie had said we had maybe left millions of dollars on the table over the years. And I would like to see, I requested it in that meeting, if we could see a list of that, the years that there were these adjustments that weren't taken. I haven't seen that, but most of my questions were answered, and I do appreciate that.
I think there's also increases in transportation, teachers' salary. I think they laid out pretty clearly where all the money is going. And I personally, like, they're the trained professionals who look at these bills every day, who know what the contracts say. And I think to suggest that we keep everything in the budget but not provide the money that they are estimating it to cost would put us exactly where we were last year.
Well, no one's suggesting no increase. It's my proposal would be that we have less of an increase this year, and then we have that availability for next year. But no one would, I don't think I've heard anyone suggest there would be no increase this year. It's just the size.
But you're suggesting that we keep everything proposed, but just cut down the number that we're saying it might cost to something below what has been suggested by the professionals as that program requiring, which would result in programs being under budgeted and create another budget crisis when what they're telling us it costs comes to fruition.
Again, I asked some of these questions to our auditor. It was not presented as a crisis. And
I'm talking about October.
But
Right.
our auditor
Yeah.
deals with the
I'm
past.
not talking about the audit.
right.
Mr. Ingrassi, I don't really understand why you keep bringing it up. I mean, she came back to us. She did a clarification of her presentation. So I'm not sure why you keep clinging on to the auditor.
It's not clinging.
When it's about
a
the
very-
past, the auditor sees what we've already done. They're trying to predict the future.
Right.
So what's your point?
Hey guys, so another thing I want to chime in on too is, Mr. Turner, do you have any comments to make? Because these folks wrote down, made some notes. I have some stuff I'd like to say from the heart as well. I haven't written anything down or rehearsed anything, but is there anything you'd like to add to this? Because you're the man with the numbers. Please do.
Yes, I believe there's a couple of items that need to be clarified here. One is that if you remember, when the budget was reworked back in October and all, there was a gap of over $1 million in the budget that had to be fixed with one-time fixes. Those one-time fixes do not exist anymore going forward. Those one-time fixes of $1 million now have to be raised in some other way. That has an effect on the increase of your tax levy. That's to just keep you on level ground. That's not an increase. That's making up for a hole that was built. All right, it's filling in that hole is what it's doing. All right, and then in addition to that, I had mentioned before when we were talking about the revenues, Mr. Agrassi, you brought this up at the last meeting when we passed the tentative budget. If you remember, the budgeted fund balance, which is a revenue on the side of the revenue side of the budget, is $801,000. All right? If you do not generate surplus this year, at least in the amount of $801,000, for every dollar less than that, that's a reduction of a revenue. You're sliding backwards again. You're going to be right back to where you started from before. That's the last thing you want to do, and that's my opinion. All right, I think that's part of what got you into a difficulty to begin with. You don't want to do that. You have to generate a surplus of $800,000 this year, and I think that's the number that you saw on the board secretary's report, if I'm not mistaken. That's what you have to generate. If you don't, then this time next year, you're going to have to make up the difference between the 801,000 and whatever the surplus comes in at. If it comes in at 300,000, you have to make up $500,000 somehow, some way. So if you don't have the tax increase this year, you're going to have the tax increase next year. It doesn't make sense. All right? So those are the two main factors that need to be addressed here. I personally don't want to see the district start sliding backwards again. All right? This budget, as painful as it is correcting a lot of mistakes that had happened in the past before. All right? And should not be continued going forward. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd also like to make a comment too. I really don't go into the past except to learn how I'm going to live the future. So I have no interest in discussing the things that I've seen in the past. This board is not going to argue in front of the committees and in front of the community. This board is going to come to an agreement, and we're going to deliver the messages to you that you need to hear. Transparency is key, and I live by that. I didn't write anything down. This is straight from the heart. I appreciate the gentleman that came up and said that he has children in Bayberry, because when I moved here in 2017, I was quite busy with them being little, and I didn't quite make the time to come here and actually see what was going on as a community through the board. And when I see now as the board president what these folks go through, I have to say I don't even know how to thank them, because the amount of work that the principals, the administrative staff, and everyone, teachers, everyone that's involved puts into this, I can't thank you enough. I really can't. And the board members too. So I don't choose to talk about what others have done in the past. I would love to be able to have all of these members come to me first, and then I can potentially take a few things off of these folks' plate. But it's really hard, because at the end of the day, I think everyone needs to know this is a volunteer position. We all have families at home. Some of us have very extenuating circumstances. I've shared some of those with the community during my first time that I spoke. I usually like to let everyone else talk. All of this is coming from my head, you know. And believe me, there was so many thoughts going through. I wanted to let everyone speak first, but you know, I really want to thank everyone in the school systems and the board members for everything they're doing. And I really want to say, forget about the past. Let's move forward. Let's all come into agreement. I've met every single one of you, regardless of what I've heard from anyone. And some of you have a reason for me being here. And I truly, truly appreciate every single one of you guys. And I really appreciate everything you guys did with this budget. And I really trust you guys. You guys are great. You guys are the numbers people, and that's why we hired you. We hired you to be here and do your job, and I'm very happy with that. And that's how I run my businesses and my life. I trust my wife to hold down the fort at home. I trust my pastor to teach me God, and here we are. So thank you, folks, for coming here and becoming involved in this community, because I wasn't doing that, and doing that is super important, because you really start to hear what's going on, and it makes a big difference. So that's where I'm at. All right, folks. Any other comments from the board? No? Okay, great. Seeing that we have no other comments, can I have a roll call, please? Ms. Karen Bishop-Johnson?
Are we supposed to vote?
Mrs. Santos?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewett?
I'd like to say something before I vote. Can I do that? Not allowed?
It's just a roll call, Mrs.
I'm sorry?
It's just a roll call at this
During the
moment.
discussion.
Yeah, I asked if any other board members had comments. At this moment, it's a roll call.
This is the vote?
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to say something before I tell you my.
The roll, that's over, ma'am.
Oh,
It's a
you're
roll
not
call
allowed
now.
to do that anymore?
That was during board member comments, ma'am.
Okay, then it's no.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Garcia?
No.
Mrs. Harvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Amadeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Agliaro?
Yes.
Mr. Frage?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Absolutely, yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. There's a lot to cover here. Okay, may we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
We need to.
We're closing this.
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, this meeting has adjourned. I don't have the time now, but
It's 8:38.
we're now going to start our public session. Ms. Karen Bishop Johnson, may I please have a motion? I'm sorry, can I please have a roll call?
Yes. Mrs. Agliaro,
Here.
Mrs. Amadeo,
Here.
Mr. Frage,
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Here.
Mrs. Harvey,
Here.
Mr. Ingracia,
Here.
Mrs. Jewett,
Here.
Mrs. Santos.
Here.
Great. Now we will administer an oath of our office for our newly appointed board member. The administration of oath of office of the newly appointed board member of the Board of Education, the board secretary, Mrs. Karen Bishop Johnson. Will you administer the oath of office?
Repeat after me. I,
Jennifer Vinces Kua,
Jennifer Vinces Kua,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
that I will bear to faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States and this state
in the United States and this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Jennifer Vinces Kua,
Jennifer Vinces Kua,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications
that I possess the qualifications
prescribed by law
prescribed by law
for the office of member of a Board of Education,
for the office of member of the Board of Education,
that I am not disqualified as a voter
that I'm not disqualified as a voter
pursuant to RS 19 4-1,
pursuant of RS-1941
4-1,
4-1,
nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime
nor disqualified by conviction of crime
or offense listed in
or offense listed in
NJS
NJS
18A
18A
12-1,
12-1,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of that office
all the duties of that office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Very much.
Okay. Okay, great. No, it's fine. Welcome aboard.
Thank you for that warm welcome.
Okay, at this time, can I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. We're going into executive session to the Open Public Meetings Act, permits of the Board of Education to meet in closed session to discuss certain matters now, therefore be it a matter rendering confidential by federal and state law student matters, and pending or anticipated litigation or contract negotiation and/or matters of attorney-client privilege.
Thank you all for being here, all of the people who took the time to come. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to come out of executive session? You did that, okay.
closed it.
So at this moment, we're going to move on to superintendent remarks. Any announcements from our superintendent?
But since Mrs. Fickner stayed, and I know that there's a big school report, why don't you come on up and start us off, Mrs. Fickner?
Thank you. So I'm here to give the principal report for Bayberry and Valley View. I just want to start off by thanking the PTO for their generous donation to fund all of our field trips. Second grade has already visited the Morris Museum, and other grades have exciting and educational trips planned in the next couple of months. April was a month of celebration and inclusivity in the district. Our students and staff came together to honor Autism Acceptance Month with a series of spirit days and engaging classroom activities, reaffirming our commitment to a diverse and inclusive community. The day before we left for spring break, Valley View students engaged in activities for our annual Day of Giving. Students' projects and donations include greeting cards and kindness boxes for the Watchung Public Library, necklaces for veterans for the Lyon VA Medical Center, perler bead coasters for the Brightview Assisted Living Center, kindness posters for our local police department, rescue squad, fire department, and Borough Hall, window sun catchers for the Macaulay Hall Healthcare Center, reusable grocery bags for Brandywine Living at Mountain Ridge, dog toys for puppies to the Plainfield Humane Society, letters to active duty soldiers through Operation Gratitude, and free rice, which donates rice through the UN World Food Program. Boy, they were busy. On April 8th, students were given eclipse glasses so they could safely view this historic wonder in the skies. It was a lot of fun. Our entire staff participated in our Spring Professional Development Day on April 10th. Teachers learned about our new safety notification and emergency messaging system, analyzed student growth data, collaborated on their professional development plans, and received training on project-based learning to maximize student engagement and learning. Project-based learning incorporates complex, higher-order thinking in a real-world scenario. Students explore content by answering open-ended questions and problem-solving with their peers. Believe it or not, Marking Period 4 began at Valley View on April 10th. Report cards for the third marking period were made available to parents via Genesis on Friday, April 19th. Anyone having difficulty viewing their child's report card is encouraged to contact the main office for assistance. The PTO Book Fair was held at Bayberry on April 18th and 19th, and at Valley View on April 15th and 16th. Thank you to the PTO and all of the parent volunteers that made this a success. On April 18th, our Community Outreach Club hosted a spring senior luncheon at Valley View. In addition to having lunch in our library with club members, our local seniors enjoyed performances by some of our chorus and band students, played games, and completed a craft. Our third graders at Bayberry had a spectacular concert on April 24th where they sang and performed a variety of songs on their recorders. Thank you to Mrs. Riley for her hard work and dedication to the music program. On April 17th, some of our young thespians visited Broadway, where they attended a workshop led by Broadway actors from the musical Wicked, had a quick lunch, and then enjoyed the full musical. The students were very excited to learn a full number and then see it performed on stage by the cast. Thank you to everyone that donated to the PTO book drive at Bayberry, and thank you for the PTO for organizing that. The teachers are very excited to add to their classroom libraries. Finally, I would like to introduce Ms. Lamming, who is a third grade teacher. She will speak today about some of the recent events with the Early Act Club. Way back in 2021, when I first started here, we partnered with the Watchung Rotary to create the Early Act Club for all third graders. So since then, the Early Act Club has been engaged in a variety of service learning projects that benefit their school, their community, and the world, and it's been very successful. So she's going to share some of the things that she's been working on recently.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Come on out.
I'm really excited. I know I got to see this already, but as a Rotarian, I'm very excited. Aaron, I'll start it.
Aaron, can you put that slideshow up? Yeah, Penny Wars, it's right there.
Hi, everyone. So it's kind of funny because my numbers aren't as big as the ones we were just discussing. But the big project we do every year is called Penny Wars. It's an annual fundraiser, and we participated in it and carried it through the whole month of March this year, which was really fun. So Aaron, you could click. So Penny Wars raised over $3,500 in the month of March. The way it works is all of the grade levels compete against each other to raise money for the school. So Early Act Club, our mission is to do different projects throughout the year to benefit the world, the community, and the school. So this is the big one for the school every year. So essentially, students bring in money, and some of the money creates positive points, some creates negative points. And they work against each other to compete as grade levels. And then there are 3 prizes that they can win: first, second, and third place. So it's a really, really, really fun event that all of the students, all of the staff really love to do. We also do Spirit Fridays, so we all wear a color. So it really engages everyone and brings us all together, and for a greater cause. Aaron? So our winners were announced at the end of, right before spring break, actually, and first place was first grade, actually. They were able to participate in a game party that was hosted by the PTO volunteers this past Monday. They loved that, so thank you, PTO. Second place was fourth grade. They had a movie party last week with popcorn, and second graders won third place, and they will plan a spirit week for the end of the school year for the whole school to enjoy. So those are really exciting prizes that my third graders in Early Act Club came up with. They always get a little upset when they don't place, but we always talk about the bigger, message at hand, and they're very hands-on, as you'll see in the next slide. These are some photos I snapped. These students give up their recess time all the time, but especially during Penny Wars. My local Chase branch in Summit also helps me out. So all of the help that goes into this, it's beyond just the parents and the families at home who are helping the students bring in that money and earn that money, which I love. It's, do a little extra chore and you can earn that money to bring it in, and they're able to see where that actually goes with Penny Wars, as you'll see on the next slide. Well, the next couple of slides, I should say. So just an overall thank you to everyone, especially if your families participated. It takes a lot, but it's definitely worth it. Aaron? So the students wanted the money for Penny Wars to give Bayberry what we call a facelift, just make it a little more inviting. So we focused on the central location. So on the left, you'll see a new welcome mat, which is, I love it. It's nice and green. It has our logo, and all the kids, Denise was saying that when we put it out after spring break, when they came in off the bus, they were all walking around it. They didn't know if they should step on it. So everyone loves that. And in the APR, we were able to hang some really nice banners. They were actually an addition from Specialties of Berkeley Heights. I've worked with them in the past, so they were able to give us a discount on those. And the students before school, during their recess, they made paper chains to kind of decorate around it. So we've talked about how raising money is great to benefit, our school, but how can we do that in a cost-effective way as well? In addition to what you see here, Aaron, we also replaced the posters that were all around the APR. So these are just, I wish I had what used to be there, but these are way more kid-friendly. The kids came up with little puns related to food, and again, these were printed by Specialties. So those look awesome. It just livens up the space, just these small additions. And the final thing that the money is going towards is all of these wall decals that will be put in central locations around the building. They actually just delivered yesterday, so we are going to wait to install them until all of our construction is finished to make sure, they stay nice. But we're really excited because we have really thought out what they are, where they'll go. Even like the little fish you'll see, those will be on lower walls for the preschoolers and the kindergartners to engage with. Nice reminders for even the staff room and the copy room, because our teachers, would like a livened space as well. So thank you. And we have many more projects to come in addition to this one, but we always like to share the news of Pennyworth.
Thank you so much. I know how much work it is, and the kids loved it, and the mat is pretty cool. I stepped around it too. I'm not going to lie. I did too. Thank you, truly, for organizing. It's great.
I just want to add thank you as well to Ms. Lamming and all of her hard work with the students. She works really hard to make sure the students have so much of a say in what goes on. So thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you. You done too, Ms. Pickner? Oh, well, wait 1 second. Aaron, will you run that video, please?
Aaron, are we still live?
Uh-oh.
Yes, we're still live.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So if you could run that video, that would be great. That's why I said, are you staying?
Just a quick sound check, Aaron. The microphone is red, the camera microphone, just in case.
Okay, thanks.
Everybody at the Bayberry Elementary School? Yes, it is. I just want to send my love and a kiss and a big hug to all of you. I am so proud of you. Take care. Adios, amigos. Adios.
I think it's recording. Oh, hello to all my friends at my favorite elementary school, Barberry Elementary. Do you know why it's my favorite? Because your school starts with the letter B. It's my favorite, you know. I hope you all have a beautiful day. Mwah!
Hi, it's Rudy from Sesame Street. I just wanted to say hi to everybody at Bayberry School. Hi! Hooray for autism acceptance and hooray to you. Bye-bye. I think it's going. Am I? Hi, Bayberry. It's me, Abby Cadabby. You know, your fairy. The fairy that's in your corner. See, I'm in the corner. I just want to say that this is such a magical time for all of us. You know why? Because, well, we get to share our hearts and we get to just embrace who we are with the love and joy. Anyway, I just wanted to say, hey, Bayberry, and let you know that I celebrate all the time the light that is inside of us and it's in the heart. So I hope you have a magical day. You know, it's really fun whenever I get in the corner.
Playing that, I did not know you were going to do that, but it was lovely. I just want to also thank Mrs. Krell. So Mrs. Krell is one of our teachers at Bayberry. Her sister is a writer at Sesame Street, so she reached out to her for that video. Her name is Mrs. Ferraro, I believe. And she also donated 50 books from Sesame Street about Julia, which is a character that has autism on Sesame Street, and gave them to the teachers. So I want to thank her for that. But that was a really fun video. I mean, I haven't watched Elmo or any of the characters in so long. When I was watching that in my office by myself, I was just a big smile on my face. So I'm sure it made the kids smile too. So, all right. Well, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Do you have a business administrator report, or should I go to superintendent?
I just wanted to let everybody know that on tonight's agenda, we have an appointment of a new payroll person. She would start, if she is approved tonight, on May 6th. We're really looking forward to having that position filled, because as you all know, that our office currently only has one other employee beside myself. So I just wanted to mention that. We're really going to welcome her. And
welcome her back?
Welcome her back. She was here temporarily a couple of times. She filled in once, and then at one point she had a quick stint in here. So she does know how to do that job. So it's really great. And while I'm saying that, I would take 5 seconds and thank the office staff that is in that office along with me. They have done an incredible amount of work picking up the slack that, since I've been occupied. So I do want to thank them publicly.
Right.
Yeah.
Erin, you can run my slides. I'll read over them. There we are. That's for you, Phyllis. I put that in just for you, that purple hair. It made her laugh when I came the other day. First of all, thank you for approving the budget for the 24-25 school year. I will actually go to sleep tonight, head on pillow, knowing that, to quote Ernie, we are beginning those first steps to financial stability. I haven't really felt that we were able to say that since I arrived 7 months ago. As you could hear from Mrs. Fichtner from the school reports, it has been a whirlwind since the March meeting. If you're looking at the pictures, you can see some of it. I'm going to talk over them. And I know you heard, during the budget presentation and from Mrs. Fichtner and Mrs. Lamming, what's been happening. A lot of progress, a lot of wonderful things. Teachers, I really do hope you're watching at home. I am so grateful for so many people here in Watchung who are committed to making the educational experience the best it can be. I'm going to highlight as many activities as possible to keep celebrating our learning community and the amazing things that are happening. For me, being part of all of these reminds me why I show up every single day. This is truly a village that puts children first. As you heard already multiple times, it is Autism Acceptance Month. There have been, as you can see, many wonderful activities to promote acceptance and understanding of autism. The goal is to celebrate the strengths and abilities of people on the autism spectrum and embrace neurodiversity. It's an important part of our society. From showing all the colors of our minds to celebrating our passions, it's been a learning experience for all of us. The Spirit Week was the same, K-8, everybody doing the same spirit activities each day. Tomorrow, we're all going to be wearing red. There will be a parade, a red parade, to show our solidarity tomorrow morning. Please join us wherever you are. Wear red tomorrow. Our Valley View students and our Theater Dream Team turned this space that you're sitting in into High School Musical, and it was fabulous. It was a wonderful production. It felt like there was a part in the play for every person, whether they were on stage or behind the scenes, anybody that wanted to be included. And when you look at the pictures, you can see that from the soundboard all the way through. It was a lot of fun to see, and I loved seeing the teachers collaborate and parents and students with the sets and everything. It was just tremendous. Denise detailed the Day of Giving at the end of March at Valley View. Some of the slides that you're seeing go by are from that day. I couldn't believe the number of activities that were organized. It was incredibly impressive. And once again, every student was engaged and participating. Denise talked about, the greeting cards, the necklaces for veterans, all of those things. The only thing that we didn't talk about is that Frankie, our bus driver, on April 9th, took groups of students to the library to deliver those kindness and greeting cards and boxes, and to the Lions Veterans Administration Medical Center to deliver the necklaces, and to the Warren Senior Assisted Living and Memory Care to deliver the coasters. The police department, rescue squad, town hall, municipal building, and fire department all got the happiness signs. The Windows sun catchers went to the Macaulay Hall Healthcare Center right here in Watchung. The reusable grocery bags that were decorated went to the Brandywine Living Center at Mountain Ridge, also right here in Watchung. The dog toys went to Plainfield Humane Society. Operation Gratitude mailed out letters of thanks to our servicemen and women. Color Smile distributed drawings to senior citizens, to our troops overseas. They are organized to give anybody in need of a smile a smile. I have a picture in my office. It was just really spectacular. And the free rice that Denise was talking about, so students used their Chromebooks anytime they had extra time during the day. They could go on to their Chromebook, play an organized trivia game. It's called Free Rice. Every correct response donates 10 grains of rice to the UN World Food Program. It doesn't sound like it would be a lot, but you would be amazed how much that makes a difference for people that are food insecure around the world. It really does add up. We also talked about the staff professional learning on April 10th. It was for all of our staff. We did include our secretaries and custodians as well. The learning opportunities that Denise talked about with training in our new safety and security initiatives was successful, and you're going to hear more about these as well as referendum projects at our May 23rd board meeting. There will be a full report from our construction management team talking about what is being done this summer and what has been done so far. Our administrative team also had training from Lifelines. That program is a partnership that we have with Empower Somerset. It helps districts address and respond not only to suicide, any type of traumatic death that profoundly affects the school population. It helps us to understand the issues involved with trauma. I think we reported earlier in the year that there is new curriculum legislation to include trauma-informed instruction as part of our curriculum, and we'll also be including our parents in that same kind of conversation and training in the fall. Last week, and those are some of my favorite pictures up there, Bayberry had an all-school meeting. You can see Mrs. Fichtner leading the cheers, but it was also an opportunity to meet Officer Mike. You met him at the last board meeting, and it was just great to see them welcome him. We also had chorus concerts. A number of students were honored for academic and extracurricular pursuits, a lot of them. We're going to highlight them individually also at the next board meeting, but I do want to give a shout out to Daniel Marco and William Lee, who are honored by Mayor Jubin, Congressman Tom Kane Jr., and Senator John Bramnick at the last council meeting. They are representing the United States at the World Vex Robotics Competition in Texas. And then last week, this is one of my favorite things. I want these pictures to scroll back through again. We did, as Mrs. Fichtner shared, have our spring senior luncheon at Valley View, and yes, they did a craft, and yes, they played bingo. For me, I it was a wonderful afternoon. Our guests were so impressed with our students. Loved meeting those community members. We don't usually have that opportunity. And one of the guests that were here was a former 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Florence Larkin. She retired in 2002. You're making a face, but she came to the board office for a tour because her classroom used to be there back in the day. She told us amazing stories. We had a lot of fun having her there. We loved having her visit, and all of our seniors, but that was just one former staff member story to share with you. As you can see, I've also had a lot of opportunity to be in the classrooms. That is the highlight of my day. You see the cute picture of Karen and Cynthia during the eclipse. We couldn't not include the eclipse. And the last slide with our goose family. We had a new goose family at Bayberry, although I think they've flown. Have they flown? But we had to include them too. It was a big, huge news thing at the school. None of this, I know I say this every month, it is heartfelt. None of this could be accomplished without our staff and our principals. You are fabulous. Thank you, thank you, thank you for making our Watchung Borough Schools a place where every single student finds something, right, that appeals to them, that develops their passion, their interest, their academics. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Glazer.
Thanks, Aaron.
Okay, at this point, we're going to get kicked off with committee reports. Mo, can you start us out with HR committee report, please?
Sure. The Personnel Committee met on April 18th, which was a Thursday at 5:35 p.m. Myself, Jen, and Anthony were all present, as well as Dr. Glazer. We discussed the ESY program proposal update, which we sent to the Morris County Superintendent. We also will most likely be having another meeting to review the reappointment agenda. This is done using a position control roster, which just identifies all the staff. We also, this meeting will most likely take place on May 2nd, although we haven't finalized yet. We also discussed the last day of school because it was we have been saving a snow day. We will make June 13th the last day of school instead of June 14th. And June 13th will be a single session day for students.
Nope.
Nope, only 13th.
Oh.
So construction will begin on June 17th for the referendum, and both buildings will be closed then. 12-month staff who cannot be in the buildings will be working remotely, such as Dr. Glazer and Karen. We also discussed a potential board agenda item, such as a leave of absence. We also revised some previous decisions. We also have an appointment of a Valley View language arts teacher. We have a possible appointment of a Valley View social studies teacher. Sorry. We're also looking for filing help, which I believe we have done now. Right.
Tonight's agenda.
Yeah, and that's on tonight's agenda, which is the confidential assistant to the business administrator and / board secretary. We also discussed a little bit about the 2024-2025 budget and a little bit about the action plan as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Curriculum, Ms. Chouette, please.
Okay, we met Thursday, April 18th. It was a virtual meeting. From 4:05 to about 5 o'clock we ended. Dr. Glazer was there, Denise Fickner, our Bayberry principal, Karen Kidd, our Valley View principal, Fatima Santos, committee member Mohammed Friege, our vice president, Dory Harvey, committee member, and myself, Phyllis Jewett. I'm the chair. We discussed the extended school year also. Special Services Director Nicole DeToda and Dr. Glazer reviewed the shared service agreement for the ESY program. They determined that we would run the before and after care program for at least 20 students. The survey was sent to eligible parents and 44 responses were received. They're waiting for Morris County's approval before it will be brought to the board, our board. We discussed the last day of school already in personnel. New business discussions, the Science of Reading program was discussed in great detail by Principals Fickner and Kidd. We are already using a balanced literacy approach. We have a systematic way of teaching which includes phonics and comprehension, and a running record is given 3 times a year to assess growth. Conquer Math is a very specific math professional development program. It focuses on grade level standards and skills and provides teachers with strategies and opportunities to increase their content depth of knowledge, and new teachers are being targeted to attend this training due to limited budget limitations. It is something the principals want for all K-5 teachers. Principals also reported again that new textbooks are needed. There's one little bit more. Okay. During our strategic planning session, we will discuss our mission statement and our vision for Watchung schools. The action plan for the district goals was removed from the last agenda since there was too much to review with budget meetings. It was reviewed in committee and will be placed in board packet. Action items are the basis for superintendent evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Webb. Policy? Lori?
Sure. We had our policy meeting on Wednesday, April 17th. The meeting time was from 5 to about 7:58 p.m. This one was virtual for us. In attendance was the superintendent, the board vice president, Mohammed Frage, and myself, and committee members, Danielle Amadeo and Phyllis Jouet. Everybody stayed for the whole time. The committee went over the following agenda items. So we had a follow-up from March. This was for Policy and Regulation 2419, school threat assessment teams. The committee asked how the parent training specified in the policy will occur and how frequently the refresher training for the staff needs to be. Dr. Glazer contacted the Office of School Preparedness, which coordinates this training. There is no schedule, and the district is expected to manage it. So there are resources online. They have completed the staff training and refreshers as required, and they will place the parent training on the district professional learning calendar. This is on the agenda for the first read. Policy 5310, health services. Dr. Glazer spoke with Strauss Esme to determine if language could be retained in the policy regarding the schools keeping the EpiPens, nebulizer, motors, and/or other prescription medication. The BOE attorney did not know the answer to that. Strauss Esme advised that we could retain the language from the previous policy if we chose, as long as it is acknowledged that if stated in the policy, the Board of Ed has the responsibility to fund the materials and liability if they aren't or can't be provided. Suggested not adding to the policy and managing with school nurses, but no prohibiting on adding. The committee decided to add the language from the previous policy, and this is on the agenda for first read. Then we had policy 2363, student use of privately owned technology. Neither school allows students to bring their own technology in, and our manager of information technology doesn't think the district needs this policy now. Since this is not a mandated policy, the committee agreed not to recommend it for adoption. Then we went over some proposed policies. So we started with 0164.6, remote public board meetings during a declared emergency, which is a mandated policy. This is on the agenda for first reading. Policy and Regulation 1642.01 sick leave. The committee recommends holding off on adopting this policy until negotiations with the teachers union takes place next year. The committee will then review the policy based on the collective bargaining agreement with the teachers union as aligned with the new state legislation. Until then, the district follows what is negotiated in the teacher's current contract. Policy 2270, religion in schools. The committee asked a couple questions, and part of the policy states that we do actually receive the ESSEA funds and submit the ESSEA certification to New Jersey State by October 1st every year, and this is also on the agenda for first reading. Policy 241506, unsafe school choice option, which is a mandated policy. This is on the agenda for first read. Policy 241601, postnatal accommodations for students. The committee decided this was unnecessary in our district and the policy is not mandated. Policy 2421, career and technical education. The committee decided this policy was unnecessary in our district because it seemed geared more towards high school. The district is covered in offering CTE in our schools because it's mandated by the state of New Jersey and written in our curriculum. This policy is not mandated. Then I won't go over all of the items on here, but we have about 18, I believe, that we had to schedule into our already existing calendar in policy, and the committee agreed to add the above policies to the schedule, and an updated schedule with the meeting minutes was provided to the committee and the board. Potential board agenda items, a couple of policies and regulations are on the agenda for a second reading. None of the committee members received feedback from the other board members, and no one had any questions or concerns in the committee about the second reading. Bylaw 0169, I'm sorry, I just listed all of them. I'm not gonna read those for you guys. They're there. We did go over the 24-25 budget again. And some board members had some questions before the committee meetings, and the business administrator answered all those questions, including offering additional information sessions for all board members. Some committee members sent emails with questions to the business administrator, which were also answered. And then we went over the emails in the committee meeting and discussed any additional questions. All committee members felt as if all their questions were answered. New business, Strauss Esme session at the superintendent's conference. Dr. Glazer updated the committee on her experience attending the Strauss Esme session. She informed the committee that a couple of policies were highlighted at the conference and that she would share the presentation and notes with the full board. Dr. Glazer pointed out that one of the policies highlighted at the conference states that only the American flag can be hung in schools. She then pointed out that some audio work was done in the Valley View APR room, which caused some of our flags of nations displayed to be removed. Community members have had questions where one or more of the flags went. The administration decided all flags in the Valley View APR room will be removed because we need to display flags from every country or none except the American flag. So even though removing the flags in the Valley View APR room wasn't due to the policy, the administration felt since we were not and potentially could not display all flags, it took a proactive approach to the situation. The last day of school has already been reported on, and then we also went over the district action plan as well. That we were told that would be placed in the board packet, which it was. And the committee was satisfied with the amount of detail in the action plan and its structure. And then I just put some important dates on there, but one specifically for the policy committee is our next meeting is on Wednesday, May 15th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I have the Cuban flag? All right. Operations, Mo, please.
The Operations Committee met on Tuesday, April 16th, 2024 at 5:20 p.m. In attendance were myself, Jennifer, Dory, and Manuel at 5, but he joined at 5:30, so 10 minutes late. As for the administration, we had Dr. Glazer, Karen Bishop Johnson, Ricky Boyd, Ernie Turner, Frank Bolby, and Conroe O'Brien. For the first thing, we discussed the referendum projects update. Ernie and Connor both kind of delved into the way that they do the accounting. They both have independent accounting systems, and they compare notes with each other just to make sure that we're sticking to a solid budget. We should get a more finalized budget for the next meeting and an accurate project list to replace what is on the district website. Connor will also do a presentation at the May Board of Ed meeting with updates, summer project information, and the schedules or timeline. As we also discussed the Package 3 roof bid, labor costs have gone up, which is one of the main reasons that the roof bids have been so high. Tremco gave us a co-op with a greatly reduced scope of work, which is active for 60 days. We could potentially only do the front 2 sections and leaking side sections with no solar panels. We were also planning on doing an infrared roof examination, but we realized they cannot be infrared scanned because they are ballasted roofs. So they must be scanned using a nuclear roof moisture survey, which is not as scary as it sounds. We identified 2 outfits that provide this service. They also prefer to do it later in the day so that the sun is not at its strongest when the testing is done. They also do not do it after it's rained. The turnaround time is unknown at this point, but the estimated price is roughly $5,000. It's still possible to have it done by the summer, even with delays, and the current status should be given relatively soon. We also discussed the furniture cost for the art room, which is currently being invoiced. We also had updates from Ricky. He went onto the roof with 2 contractors and checked the leaks, and it wasn't the roof, it was actually 3 drains. We are out of warranty for the roof, and it does not currently need to be replaced. We also got, I actually mentioned this already. We cleaned out the art room, they cleaned out the art room storage. That filled up 2 30-foot dumpsters. The teacher's room and faculty room has also been remodeled with new furniture. We all took a tour, and it looks great. We also had the 2 music rooms have also had their acoustics replaced. The committee also took a tour, and the teacher is very happy with that. This was all done over spring break, which is crazy. And the fire inspectors was scheduled for the week of April 16th, and we passed with no corrections. We also did discuss the business office, which I discussed previously, and we also discussed the last day of school. As for professional development, Dr. Glazer will be going to the NJASA conference in May. Karen Bishop Johnson's NJASBO conference and certifications are in June. And also congrats to Karen for receiving her purchase agent license. Yeah. And we also just discussed the usual payment of bills. The committee meeting adjourned at 8:40 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mom. We should bring up the toasters. That was in the teacher's room. All right. So now we're going to move on to, oh no, you have one more.
Liaison.
Yeah, legislative.
Okay.
We also have
Yeah, so our board liaisons.
organization.
Yeah, I'm just going to do it in board business. Should I just do it in board business, or should I do it now?
New board business?
I mean, we could do it now, because I guess it's liaison.
I think we have to add it now under liaison.
Okay.
And going forward, the regionalization.
We should add
Add the liaison. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to do the liaison report for the, sorry, having a brain fart. Regionalization meeting, sorry. 1 second. With full funding from the state of New Jersey, a highly experienced Rowan University team led by former Warren Township Board of Education member Kathleen Hilewa will be conducting a shared services / regionalization study covering the Watchung Hills Regional, Watchung Borough, Warren Township, Long Hill Township, and Greenbrook Township school districts. The Watchung Hills Regional and Watchung Borough districts applied for the $135,000 grant under the state's School Regionalization Efficiency Program, which funds the full cost of studies with no cost to school districts or property taxpayers. The study will be conducted over the next year with input from an advisory committee that includes representatives from all 5 school boards, Watchung Hills, Watchung, Warren, Long Hill, and Greenbrook, along with school administrators and municipal officials. The study will analyze educational programs for students from preschool through high school within the 5 districts, including curriculum coordination, special education programming, and transportation costs. They will also provide a demographic analysis of future enrollment for the 5 districts, forecast state aid based on those enrollment projections, and evaluate future budget challenges. Based on this analysis, the study will provide recommendations for educational enhancement and potential cost saving through various options ranging from expansion of shared services in specific areas to full pre-K through 12 regionalization. The Rowan School Regionalization Institute teams include Halewa, a Warren resident who previously served as senior manager of field services for the New Jersey School Boards Association, former school education commissioner Lucille Davey, J. Kennedy Green, former president of the New Jersey Association of School Administrators, Mark Magyar, a principal author of the 2022 school regionalization legislation, and school finance consultant Brian Falkowski. There will be ongoing opportunities for your valuable community involvement through the study process, beginning with an informational Zoom session on Monday, May 20th at 7 p.m. A meeting recording will be posted on district websites following the session, and registration information will be forthcoming.
Thank you, Mo. Okay, now we're going to move to board liaison reports. Mo, if you can please, read legislation liaison.
There's no update.
Sorry, Somerset County Educational Services.
Gotcha, okay. So we had the meeting of the Representative Assembly / Board of Directors on April 10th, 2024. Mr. Harold Dunsavage gave his superintendent's report, which I figured everyone would probably find the most interesting. He explained that some floors have classrooms that aren't assigned to a specific teacher. The teachers travel between classrooms to enhance the spaces for students. They plan on beautifying and brightening them up. They are short-staffed and are looking for special education teachers, aides, etc. The school is filling up and they can't accept more students because there isn't enough staff to open more classrooms. Even though it's not about enough space right now, they will eventually run out of physical space, but they received a quote of $1 million to renovate 3 rooms to add more classrooms for students. The quote seemed relatively high, so they will go out to bid. They stated that they might have to start a waiting list for students until spots open. They also are exploring the option of sending some students back to their home districts that haven't shown progress. Some of the students attending the school who don't show progress might have needs that they can't accommodate. If students don't succeed after they attend the SCESC, the next step is a therapeutic or residential placement. And they also have waiting lists, which doesn't help the students waiting for a spot to open. The superintendent gave an update on their classes. They just had a soft launch of their cosmetology class and are waiting for contractors to finish updating the space. The students learning construction by building a small bathroom. Sorry, hold on, I lost my space. Building a small bathroom with a window. This build allowed the students to learn carpentry, electrical, plumbing, drywall, door installation, window installation, and siding. They also updated their auto shop by adding an auto lift, which was pretty cool. So the students no longer must use the dolly to roll under the cars to do oil changes and whatnot. The students will learn about retail in their ShopRite store and will add a bistro to the space. They want to bring back culinary arts to help support the bistro, but that won't happen for a few years. They're developing the, I believe they said SLICE program, but I could be wrong because they said it rather quickly, which will cost about $54,000 based on the number of students participating. This program is for ESL students who don't speak English, need counseling, and have minimal education. That price does not include the cost of transportation. I shared photographs of the spaces with all the board members. There's a handout if you guys want to look, because we did ask for them to give us a tour, which was super cool of them to do. It's a beautiful space. So if anybody next year is interested in this, just know that you get sworn on to another board, and then you get a whole nother board packet that you have to read through, but it's great. It's all good. Like the kids there, it's just a wonderful experience. So all the items under their finance, transportation, personnel, and policy passed. They are all available for the public to view since it's a public board meeting. They are in the middle of negotiations still with the paraprofessionals, so there was an executive session, which I recused myself since I'm a member of the NJDA. And our next meeting will be on June 5th, but it could be moved to June 12th. So I should have an update, hopefully, during our June meeting. All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, Somerset County, Danielle?
There was a webinar today, actually, on harnessing AI and cybersecurity for New Jersey school districts. I was not able to attend, but plan to watch it after the fact, and we'll report on any interesting news and updates.
Thank you. School board, Jen?
Just 2 upcoming webinars. These are free. There's Navigating Education Governance, Insights into CUSAC, Contract Review, and Special Education on Wednesday, May 8th. And Best Practices for Policy Development and Maintaining the Manual, Wednesday, May 22nd. And I will just note, when I've registered for the webinars previously and missed the meeting, they still forward you the presentation. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on to community engagement. I don't see anyone from PTO for CPAC here. So, meaning that there's no one from those communities. We're going to move on to action items. Fatima, can you please move administrative items?
Approve minutes of previous meetings. Resolved that the Watchung Borough Board of Education, upon recommendation of superintendent, approves the following meeting minutes: March 18th, 2024, executive session; March 18th, 2024, regular meeting; April 8th, 2024, special meeting. Affirm the superintendent HIB report. Accept Bayberry and Valley View school security drill reports. Establish 8th grade commencement ceremony and official last day of school. Approve district goals and action plan.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Roll call, please. Ms. Karen Bishop.
Mrs. Amadeo?
Yes.
Mr. Frage?
Yes.
Mrs. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Ingracia?
Yes.
Mrs. Santos?
Yes.
Mrs. Duet?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
And Mrs. Agliaro?
Yes.
And motion passes. Oh,
A new board
I have to add.
You get it, you'll get it.
Dr. Vince's Kua.
Abstain.
And now Mo,
Motion passes still.
Mo, can you please move on to personnel items?
I move items, personnel items. 1, approve appointment of certificated staff. 2, approve appointment of non-certificated staff. 3, accept resignation. 4, approve leaves of absences. And that's all.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Amadeo?
Yes.
Dr. Vince's Kua?
Abstain.
Mr. Frage?
Yes.
Mrs. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Ingracia?
Yes.
Mrs. Duet?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Agliaro?
Yes.
And Mrs. Santos?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Please move operation items, Mo.
I move operations item 1, approve payment of bills. 2, approve transfer of funds 2023-2024. 3, approve financial reports. 4, approve professional service provider. 5, approve professional service provider. 6, approve payment application. 7, approve donation from Dahl, Kurt, and Soluski and Jennifer. Thank you for that. 8, approve grants from Watchung Educational Foundation. 9, authorize sale/disposal of athletic equipment. 10, approve professional development /school business and related expenses. 11, approve UCESC transportation agreement. 12, approve SCESC transportation agreement. And 13, appoint district purchasing agent.
Second? Anyone?
Second.
I have a quick discussion. For number 12, do I have to abstain from that? For the Somerset County Ed Services?
member?
Yeah, because I'm a board member on there. I should abstain, right? Okay, just making sure.
Can't believe you're a board member on more than one board.
Neither can I. But again, it's a great experience, and you get to meet board members from all over, from Warren, from everywhere.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's great meeting other board members from other districts and hearing their experiences.
That's cool. Any other discussion? Okay. Ms. Karen Bishop Johnson, roll call, please.
Mrs. Harvey?
Yes for all except for 12, which I will abstain.
Mr. Ingracia?
Yes for 1 and 2, no on 3 except financial reports, yes on 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So just a no on 3 except financial reports.
Mrs. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Santos?
Yes.
Dr. Vince's abstain? What? Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Frage?
Yes.
Mrs. Amadeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Aguilera?
Yes.
Motion passes. I got everybody?
Okay. Ms. Jewett, Phyllis, please, curriculum items.
Okay. Okay. Approve revise 2023-2024 district academic calendar. Number 2, approve Valley View field trip. And that's about it for curriculum. Want me to do policy?
We have to vote. Second.
Yeah, I know.
Second. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Ingracia?
Yes.
Mr. Frage?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Amadeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Aguilera?
Yes.
Dr. Vince's
Abstain.
Mrs. Harvey?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Dory, can you please move policy items?
Sure. I move number 1, first reading of all those policies, and number 2, second reading of the policies listed.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Vince's
Abstain.
Mrs. Santos?
Yes.
Mr. Ingracia?
Yes.
Mrs. Harvey?
Yes.
Mrs. Amadeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Aguilera?
Yes.
Mr. Frage?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewett?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Is there any board business to discuss? Okay, seeing that there's no board business to discuss?
No, Danielle, is there a question? Okay.
No? Okay. Seeing that there's no board business to discuss, I'd like to read a resolution authorizing filing of charges with School Ethics Commission, whereas the board is responsible for protecting and maintaining the integrity of its operation, and whereas the board has an obligation to ensure that Watchung school district is well run, and whereas the board recently was made aware of alleged actions and statements by board member Anthony Negracia and the petition filed by Mr. Negracia with the Commissioner of the Education that the potential jeopardized the operations of the board. And whereas the School Ethics Act was enacted to ensure and preserve public confidence in the integrity of elected and appointed school board members and school administrators, NJAC 6A28-1.1, and whereas the School Ethics Act further provides that board members must support and protect school personnel in proper performance of their duties, and the board members are prohibited from taking private action that may compromise the board, NJSA 18A:12-24.1. And whereas the alleged actions and statements by board member Negracia, if proven true, may violate the School Ethics Act and or Code of Ethics for school board members. And whereas the board cannot and would not make an ultimate decision as to guilt or innocence, but recognizes that the appropriate place for such a determination is the School Ethics Commission, which can weigh the relevant evidence and testimony, and whereas the board takes the alleged conduct seriously, which it hopes to have addressed in the appropriate forum to allow the board to focus on the district business, while maintaining the confidence of its employees and public. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board empowers and directs the board president to file an appropriate complaint with the School Ethics Commission with regard to alleged violations of the School Ethics Act and or Code of Ethics for school board members with assistance of the board special counsel. And be it further resolved that the board directs and empowers the board president to file the action with regret to such action is necessary, but believed it is left with no other alternative in order to have this matter reviewed and concluded while maintaining the public's confidence in the board. Okay.
Obviously, I find that completely baseless and certainly not justified at all. Could you even read what, since I was never shown this prior to the board meeting, is this related, did you say, to a petition to the Education Commissioner? Is that what you said this is, you just read?
Do we have to get a second before we start discussion?
Second.
Any further discussion besides what Mr. Negracia?
Yes, I think it's very clear that, this is a play out of Dory's book from the past. You didn't want to talk about the past, but you're bringing out a Dory playbook play that we've seen before. And it's completely baseless.
Mr.
So I will leave it.
I just find it entertaining.
I'm sorry, I have the floor,
that
Dory.
You blame me for everything.
I have
It
the
is
floor.
just kind of comical at this point.
I'm sorry, Dory. I have the floor.
Stop this right now.
Yeah.
Okay? This is what I told the community that we were not going to do. And Dory, I appreciate you making a comment. And Mr. Negracia, thank you for your question.
Well, I'm sorry. I think that I had the floor and Dory interrupted me. And besides, everything that was read is baseless. It seems to be related to my attempt to correct a very big mistake that was made by this board. And so I have no regret about the petition to the Education Commission that you mentioned, and I'm sure that will be added to the mistake that was already made now. For anyone that ran on a campaign of no drama, this is not keeping that promise. For anyone who ran or said that they were neutral, this is not keeping that promise, especially being that our board president and board vice president claimed that they were going to be. It's obviously not the case. And so I think that this is a very negative reaction to what should have been a very common search for a nonpartisan, a independent authority that I rightfully inquired to resolve a dispute. So to bring it as an ethics charge is actually disgraceful. And I think, Mo, you should know better, because the person that encouraged you to run for the board was attacked by Dory in a very similar way, in a censure and a false ethics violation, and that was dismissed. The board member's fellow housemate brought a similar ethics charge against me last year, which was easily dismissed. And so I really see no point to this except adding and compounding to the very big mistake that this board made, and that I am well within my rights and certainly in no impropriety to try to resolve. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just want to say, I normally would not be in support of anything like this, but the fact that we have spent thousands of dollars on legal fees of money that we don't have on a budget that you will not, let me finish please, that you did not want to approve is ridiculous to me. I'm concerned about the finances of the school district. We do not have the money or the time to keep spending on your incessant questions. And again, I understand that you are a board member. I love the fact that you ask questions, and every single time that I've spoken to anybody about you, I have gone out of my way to say, I think you're very intelligent, I think that you are very persuasive, and I respect it a lot. But at the same time, when you are naming our superintendent in petitions and spending thousands of dollars, I do not think it's a good idea. And I believe that this is the only way to get that stopped.
I'm sorry, that won't stop the petition.
That's fine.
And it's also not true that there's been any, to...
Anthony, you've had the floor
Yeah.
already. At this moment,
Okay.
does anybody else have any other comments? Okay. So we're going to go to comments of the public.
No, we have to vote on that.
Oh, we have to vote on this, okay, sorry. This is a volunteer position, and petitions being involved is just totally throwing me off. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Perfectly proper.
The floor, you already had the floor.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Amadeo?
Yes.
Mrs. Santos?
Yes.
Mrs. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Frage?
Yes.
Dr. Vincent Cloud?
Abstain.
Mrs. Aguilera?
Yes.
And did I get everybody?
I'm a no.
Mr. Ingrassia, I'm sorry.
Wait, with all due respect, wouldn't you have to abstain, considering this?
Recuse.
Yeah,
Possibly not.
okay. I mean, I'm just asking, this is fine.
I don't, you should have an attorney here when you're bringing public ethics charges against a board member, and you don't even have an attorney here.
Discussion's over, correct?
Yep. Okay, let's move on. So
Apparently it was reopened.
motion passes?
The motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move on to comments from the public. Seeing that there are no public members here, hopefully they're listening to all of this. We may have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second? Great. Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, great. Motion. Roll call? Oh, no.
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Have a great night, everybody.
Night.